The book of Proverbs does not promise wealth, it promises wisdom, and wisdom, when applied to money, changes everything. Not because it makes you rich, but because it teaches you to see money the way God does, as a tool, as a test, as a form of worship. Most people approach money with fear or entitlement. They hoard it, they chase it, they argue over it, they build their identity around it, and then they wonder why peace never comes. Proverbs cuts through that fog with sharp, simple, uncomfortable truth, the kind that exposes your motives, the kind that forces you to choose between comfort and obedience. This is not about getting more. It is about stewarding what you have been given with integrity, discipline, and reverence. These 11 rules are not formulas. They are principles, patterns observed across generations. Warnings carved into Scripture by people who watched kingdoms rise and fall based on how they handled resources. They are not magical. They are foundational, and they require action. This is for education and spiritual reflection, not financial advice. What follows is not a list of hacks or shortcuts. It is a framework, a lens, a way of thinking that realigns your heart before it touches your bank account. Because money decisions are never just about money. They are about trust, about priorities, about who you serve. Honor God with your wealth first. You earn your first paycheck, and the question is immediate. What do I do with this? Most people budget backward. Bills first, saving second. God gets what is left, and what is left is usually nothing. Proverbs flips that order completely. Proverbs 3:9-10 says, "Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine." First fruits is not a suggestion. It is a posture. It says God is not an afterthought. He is the starting point. In ancient Israel, the first portion of the harvest was brought to the temple before anything else was consumed. It was an act of trust, a declaration that provision comes from God, not from your effort alone. The tithe was not a tax. It was worship. This principle appears again in Malachi chapter 3:8-10, where God challenges his people not to rob him by withholding tithes and offerings. The promise is not wealth, it is blessing. Provision. Protection. The act of giving first reorients your heart. It reminds you that everything you have is already His. Today, people treat giving like a luxury, something you do when you have extra, when you feel generous, when the budget allows it. But Proverbs teaches the opposite. You give first because it builds trust. It breaks the grip of fear. It trains your heart to see God as provider, not your paycheck. Some people tithe out of guilt, others out of obligation. But the principle is about priority, about saying with your wallet what you claim with your words. This is not about earning God's favor. You cannot buy blessing, but you can position yourself under it. Giving first is a spiritual discipline that affects everything else. It makes you ask better questions. It forces you to live within what remains. It keeps you from building your life on your own strength. Start with worship. Let the rest follow. Work diligently and avoid laziness. Laziness is not just about sleeping in. It is about avoiding responsibility, about waiting for someone else to solve your problems, about expecting reward without effort. Proverbs has no patience for it. Proverbs 10:4 says, "Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth." The contrast is sharp. Laziness leads to lack. Diligence leads to provision. This is not about working yourself to death. It is about showing up, about doing what needs to be done even when you do not feel like it. Proverbs chapter 8 points to the ant as a teacher. No one supervises the ant. No one forces it to prepare. It works because it understands the rhythm of seasons. It gathers in summer because winter is coming. Proverbs 12:24 adds, "Diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor." Hard work does not just create income, it creates opportunity. It builds trust. It opens doors. People notice consistency, they notice reliability. And over time, those who work with integrity tend to rise. Not always, not guaranteed, but often. The principle holds. Today, people confuse laziness with rest. They call procrastination self-care. They avoid hard conversations, difficult tasks, and long-term planning because it feels uncomfortable. Some wait for the perfect job, the perfect opportunity, the perfect moment. But Proverbs teaches that provision often comes through faithfulness in small things, through showing up when no one is watching, through finishing what you start. Diligence is a form of worship. It says, I will steward the time and strength God has given me. It says, I will not waste the opportunity in front of me. Start where you are. Do what you can. Work as if you are working for God, not for people. Let the results be His responsibility. Save consistently for future needs. You have money today. You may not have it tomorrow. That is not pessimism. That is reality. Seasons change, incomes shift, emergencies happen, and the ones who survive are the ones who prepared. Proverbs chapter 21 says, the wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. Saving is not about hoarding, it is about foresight. In an agrarian society, storing food meant survival. It meant you could endure a bad harvest, a drought, a siege. The fool consumes everything immediately. The wise person sets something aside, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Proverbs 6:8 again points to the ant, which gathers food in summer and stores it for winter. The ant does not know when winter will come, but it knows it will come. Proverbs 13:11 adds, dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. Wealth built quickly often disappears quickly. Wealth built slowly, through discipline and patience, tends to last. Saving is not glamorous, it does not feel powerful, but it creates margin. It creates options. It creates peace. Today, people spend everything they earn, sometimes more. Credit makes it easy to live beyond your means, to buy now and worry later. The pressure to keep up is constant. New phone, new car, new experience. But Proverbs teaches that contentment and preparation go hand in hand. Saving is an act of trust. It says, I do not need to spend everything to feel secure. Start small, even 5% of your income, even $10 a week. Let it accumulate. Let it sit. Build the habit before you build the amount. Saving is not about the number. It is about the discipline. It is about creating space for the future. Comment below which of these first few principles challenges you most. Avoid debt and live within your means. Debt feels normal. Everyone has it. Student loans, car payments, credit cards, mortgages. It is woven into the fabric of modern life. But Proverbs does not treat it as neutral. It treats it as bondage. Proverbs 22:7 says, the rich rule over the poor and the borrower is slave to the lender. This is not metaphor, it is description. When you owe someone money, you are not free. Your income is already spoken for. Your decisions are constrained. You work not just to live, but to pay back what you already spent. The lender has power over you, not because they are evil, but because you gave them that power when you borrowed. Proverbs 22:26-27 warns, do not be one who shakes hands in pledge or puts up security for debts. If you lack the means to pay, your very bed will be snatched from under you. Debt does not just limit your future, it can take your present. Proverbs 6:1-5 uses urgent language. It compares being in debt to being trapped like a gazelle or a bird. The instruction is clear. Free yourself. Quickly, aggressively. Do not rest until you are out. This is not about never borrowing. It is about understanding the weight of obligation, the cost of interest, the loss of freedom. Today, debt is marketed as opportunity, as leverage, as a tool for building wealth. And sometimes it can be, but most people do not use it that way. They use it to fund lifestyles they cannot afford, to buy things they do not need, to keep up with people who are also in debt. The result is stress, anxiety, years of payments. Proverbs teaches that living within your means is not deprivation. It is freedom. It is saying no to things now so you can say yes to things later. If you are in debt, make a plan. Cut expenses. Increase income. Pay it down aggressively. If you are not in debt, protect that freedom. Live below your income. Let margin be your default. Debt is not inevitable. It is a choice. Never co-sign or guarantee loans. Someone you trust asks for help. They need a loan. They cannot get approved. But if you co-sign, they can. It feels like kindness, like loyalty, like faith. Proverbs calls it foolishness. Proverbs 11:15 says, "Whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer, but whoever refuses to shake hands and pledge is safe." Co-signing means you are legally responsible for someone else's debt. If they do not pay, you pay. If they disappear, you are left holding the bill. And the relationship you are trying to protect often gets destroyed in the process. Proverbs 17:18 adds, "One who has no sense shakes hands in pledge and puts up security for a neighbor." The language is blunt. It is not wise. It is not generous. It is reckless. Proverbs 22:26-27 repeats the warning. Do not be one who shakes hands in pledge or puts up security for debts. If you lack the means to pay, your very bed will be snatched from under you. You can lose everything, not because of your own choices, but because of someone else's. The risk is real. The consequences are severe. Today, people co-sign out of guilt, out of pressure, out of obligation. A family member needs a car, a friend needs an apartment, and you feel like saying no makes you selfish. But Proverbs teaches that protecting your financial stability is not selfish. It is stewardship. You cannot help anyone if you are drowning. Some people co-sign and nothing bad happens. The person pays. The loan closes. But many others are not so fortunate. They end up with damaged credit, with debt they did not plan for, with broken relationships and legal battles. If someone asks you to co-sign, offer help in another way. Give a gift if you can afford it. Offer advice. Offer accountability. But do not tie your financial future to someone else's promise. Wisdom says no. Gather wealth, little by little. Everyone wants the shortcut, the big break, the one deal that changes everything. Proverbs says that is not how lasting wealth is built. Proverbs 13:11 says, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow." Quick money rarely lasts. Lottery winners go broke. Inheritance gets spent. Windfalls disappear. Why? Because wealth without discipline is just temporary cash. But money earned slowly, saved consistently, and invested wisely tends to compound. It builds foundation. It builds character. Proverbs 21:2-5 reinforces this. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. Haste is not just speed. It is impatience. It is skipping steps. It is trying to force results before the process is complete. Proverbs 28 warns, "A faithful person will be richly blessed, but one eager to get rich will not go unpunished." Eagerness for wealth is dangerous. It makes you vulnerable to scams, to bad advice, to risky decisions. It clouds your judgment. The desire for quick gain often leads to shortcuts, and shortcuts often lead to loss. Today, the pressure to get rich fast is everywhere. Crypto, day trading, get-rich-quick courses, multi-level marketing. The promise is always the same. Fast results, minimal effort. But Proverbs teaches the opposite. Wealth is built through patience, through saving a little every month, through consistent work, through compound interest over decades. It is not exciting. It does not make a good story. But it works. Stop chasing the big win. Start building the small habit. Save regularly. Invest consistently. Let time do the heavy lifting. Faithfulness over decades beats brilliance in a moment. Comment what money habit you are trying to build right now. Diversify your investments wisely. Putting everything in one place feels simple. One stock, one business, one income stream. But Proverbs warns against it. Ecclesiastes 11:2 says, "Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land." This is diversification. Spread your risk. Do not put all your resources in one basket. In an agricultural economy, this meant planting different crops, trading in different markets, storing wealth in different forms. If one failed, the others could sustain you. The principle is timeless. Proverbs 27:23-24 adds, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds, for riches do not endure forever, and a crown is not secure for all generations." Wealth requires attention. It requires management. It requires vigilance. Proverbs is not advocating recklessness, it is advocating wisdom. Know what you own. Understand where your money is. Do not ignore it. Do not assume it will always be there. Economies shift. Markets crash. Businesses fail. The ones who survive are the ones who did not bet everything on one outcome. Today, people make this mistake constantly. They put all their savings in one stock because someone told them it would explode. They invest everything in a business idea without testing it. They rely on one income source and have no backup plan. Then when that one thing fails, everything collapses. Diversification is not about being fearful. It is about being prudent. It is about recognizing that you do not control the future. Do not put all your money in one investment. Spread it across different assets, different industries, different risk levels. Build multiple income streams if possible. Know what you own and why you own it. Diversification is not complexity. It is protection. Practice integrity in all dealings. You can cut corners and no one will know. You can overcharge. You can underdeliver. You can manipulate the numbers. You can get away with it. But Proverbs says that is not the point. Proverbs 11:1 says, "The Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favor with him." In ancient markets, merchants used scales to weigh goods. A dishonest scale was rigged. It made things weigh more or less than they actually did. It was a way to cheat customers, and God hated it. Not just disliked, detested. Because dishonesty in business is not just bad practice, it is a rejection of His character. Proverbs 16:11 adds, "Honest scales and balances belong to the Lord. All the weights in the bag are of His making." Integrity in transactions is a reflection of God's nature. It is worship. Proverbs chapter 20:23 repeats the warning. The Lord detests differing weights, and dishonest scales do not please Him. The repetition is intentional. This matters. Your reputation matters. Your word matters. How you treat people in business matters. Proverbs 22:1 says, "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold." You can gain wealth through dishonesty, but you lose something far more valuable: trust, respect, peace. Today, integrity is treated as optional. People lie on resumes. They inflate prices. They hide defects. They manipulate contracts. And sometimes it works. Sometimes they get rich. But Proverbs teaches that wealth gained through dishonesty does not last. It erodes your soul. It destroys relationships. It leaves you isolated. Some people rationalize it. Everyone does it. It is just business. But God does not grade on a curve. Be honest in your work. Deliver what you promise. Charge what is fair. Do not manipulate. Do not deceive. Let your yes be yes. Let your no be no. Integrity may cost you short-term gain, but it builds long-term trust. And trust is the foundation of everything. Be generous and give freely. Generosity feels risky. You worked for that money, you need it, you earned it, and giving it away feels like losing control. But Proverbs flips the logic. Proverbs 11:24-25 says, "One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." This is paradox. The one who gives ends up with more. The one who hoards ends up with less. Not always in dollars, but in blessing, in relationship, in peace. Generosity creates circulation. It breaks the grip of fear. It declares that God is the source, not your bank account. Proverbs 19:17 adds, "Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward them for what they have done." Giving to those in need is not charity, it is lending to God, and he repays. Proverbs 22:9 says, "The generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor." Generosity is not about having extra. It is about sharing what you have. Some of the most generous people are not wealthy. They just understand that everything they have is a gift, and gifts are meant to be shared. Today, people wait to be generous. They say, "When I have more, I will give more." But that day rarely comes, because generosity is not about the amount. It is about the heart. Scarcity thinking says, "I need to hold on tight." Abundance thinking says there is enough. Some people give out of guilt. Others give to be seen. But Proverbs teaches that true generosity flows from trust, from worship, from gratitude. Give to your church. Give to those in need. Tip generously. Help without expecting anything back. Let generosity be a rhythm, not an event. You cannot outgive God. Comment, one way you have seen generosity create unexpected blessing. Seek wise counsel before decisions. You think you have it figured out. You have done the research. You have run the numbers. You are ready to move. But Proverbs says, slow down. Proverbs 15:22 says, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." You do not know everything. You cannot see every angle. Your perspective is limited. Wise people know that. They seek input. They ask questions. They listen. Proverbs 11:14 reinforces this. For lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. This is not just personal finance. It is leadership. It is strategy. It is recognizing that wisdom is often found in community, not isolation. Proverbs 12:15 adds, "The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice." Fools are confident. They do not need help. They trust their own judgment completely, and they walk straight into disaster. The wise are humble. They know they can be wrong. They know blind spots exist. So they seek counsel before they commit. Today, people make major financial decisions alone. They buy houses without asking questions. They start businesses without mentorship. They invest based on a YouTube video or a social media post. And when it fails, they wonder why. Proverbs teaches that input is not weakness. It is strength. It is protection. Some people avoid counsel because they do not want to hear no. They do not want their idea challenged. But that is exactly why you need it. Find people who are where you want to be. Ask them how they got there. Hire a financial advisor if you can. Talk to a pastor. Talk to a mentor. Do not make big decisions in isolation. Wisdom is often found in conversation. Be content and avoid wasteful spending. You always want more. Better phone, bigger house, nicer car, the next thing, the upgrade, the experience. And no matter how much you get, it is never enough. Proverbs 15:16 says, "Better a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth with turmoil." Contentment is not about the amount. It is about the posture. You can have little and be at peace. You can have much and be miserable. The difference is not in your bank account. It is in your heart. Proverbs chapter 38:9 includes a prayer. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Otherwise I may have too much and disown you and say, "Who is the Lord?" Or I may become poor and steal and so dishonor the name of my God. The request is for enough, not excess, not lack, just enough. Proverbs 21:17 warns, "Whoever loves pleasure will become poor. Whoever loves wine and olive oil will never be rich." Wasteful spending is not just about money. It is about misplaced love. When you chase pleasure, you chase something that does not satisfy. You spend and nothing fills the void. Proverbs 3:4-5 adds, "Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle." Wealth is temporary. Contentment is not. Today, advertising is designed to create discontent, to make you feel like what you have is not enough. Social media amplifies it. Everyone looks successful, everyone looks happy, and you feel behind. So you spend to keep up. You buy things you do not need with money you do not have. Proverbs teaches that contentment is a discipline. It is choosing gratitude over comparison. Live below your means. Distinguish between wants and needs. Stop upgrading just because you can. Let contentment guard your wallet and your heart. You have just walked through 11 money rules that do not begin with numbers but with the heart. Each principle from Proverbs quietly exposes what you really trust, what you really fear, and what you really love. Honoring God first, working diligently, saving steadily, avoiding debt, staying away from risky guarantees, building slowly, diversifying wisely, protecting integrity, practicing generosity, seeking counsel, and learning contentment are not separate tricks. They are one fabric. Together they form a way of living that says, "God is Lord over my wallet, my plans, and my future." They push against fear that says, "There will not be enough." They push against pride that says, "I can control everything if I just try harder." Proverbs invites a different posture, a posture of reverent caution, disciplined effort, and steady trust. These rules do not remove uncertainty. They do not promise wealth. They do not guarantee a specific outcome, but they shape the kind of person you become as you make choices over years. A person who tells the truth even when it costs. A person who gives even when it stretches. A person who plans but still submits everything to God. A person who learns to say, "Enough is enough," in a world that screams, "More." If you like our content, consider subscribing. Or if some topics did not make this list, or there are topics you want us to feature, please leave them in the comments. In the end, the real question is not how much you will have, but who you are becoming as you steward what God has placed in your hands.